Arise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here. We are back for another one of our Patreon campaign games. This one is called Mundus Novus. This is our Vaesen campaign using the Free League Vaesen RPG. If you are just tuning in, go watch the last few episodes. We've had a handful here. And if you are caught off guard by this show that seems to have very established characters, do know that Season 1 and Season 2 were both played, not streamed. We will be working on a written recap of that, so everyone can get fully caught up. But the third act, or the third season of this, is fully encapsulated online from start to wherever we are currently. That being said, if you like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is over on our Patreon, link in the description down below. While you're clicking on that Patreon, make sure you click on that link for our Discord, join us in the Discord, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation, chat about all these games, all the other games we're doing. And with that, now normally, this is when I say previously on, but we're going to eschew that. I'm going to start a little differently today. As the final preparations for the seance fall into place, the flickering candlelight casts long shadows over the worn gravestones of St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. The air is thick with tension, heavy with the unspoken dread of what lies ahead. You gather in a circle around the freshly disturbed earth, the grave of a victim, many victims. Your hands clasped tightly together. Cyrus, at the center of the circle, places his crystal ball upon the cold ground. His voice cuts through the stillness, calling out to the spirits with a calm authority that belies the growing unease in the air. Around him, the rest of you form a protective ring, warding off whatever unseen forces might seek to intervene. The energy in the cemetery begins to shift, dense and foreboding. It presses down on your chest like physical weight. Signy, drawn into the seance by the images that have plagued your dreams, you feel the familiar pull of terror tighten around your heart. The visions come on stronger this time. Bodies strewn across an alleyway, faces twisted in agony, her friends torn apart before her eyes. You resist at first, fighting to pull back from the horror, but Cyrus's steady voice urges you forward, and with a tear slipping down your cheek, you surrender to the visions. The ground beneath you feels as though it might crack open at any moment, and for Cyrus, it already has. The spirit world swirls around you like an ocean in a storm, wet and suffocating. Your skin feels clammy and cold, your breath caught in your throat as ghostly hands pull at you from all sides. The drowned dead are calling for you once again. A sudden scream pierces the air, harsh and guttural, issuing from Signy's throat. Her head snaps back as the scream carries across the cemetery, shaking the earth beneath your feet. The candles around you flicker violently, nearly extinguished by the sudden gust of wind that chills you to the bone. Cyrus, Alec, William, Martha. As you look upon the rolled-back eyes of Signy, the scream is enough to make you start in this evening. And you watch from the center. From the depths of the shadows, the air grows colder still, your breath visible in the sudden chill. The candles sputter as an unnatural wind twists through the cemetery, carrying with it the faint stench of blood and decay. Before you, a dark, hulking figure begins to take shape. Its twisted, translucent form writhes in pain. Towering above you with a grotesque fusion of man and beast, its broad, hunched shoulders taper down to elongated limbs, fingers ending in sharp, talon-like claws. Thick patches of coarse, matted fur cling to its emaciated frame, glistening with spectral blood. Its chest is mangled ruin, gaping wide as though something vital has been violently torn out. Sinew and muscle hang loose like frayed threads. Blood, dark and otherworldly, drips from an open wound, but vanish before it touches the ground. Its face is a monstrous hybrid of man and animal, elongated lupine jaws lined with jagged teeth, partially obscured by tufts of ragged fur. Eyes, sunken deep into their sockets, glow with a fierce and unnatural light, burning with a mixture of rage and sorrow. Every labored breath sends its nostrils flaring, the sound a rasping growl that reverberates unnervingly in the still night air. The spirit glares at you with hollow, glowing eyes. Its voice is hoarse, broken rasp. It is the voice of a creature betrayed, ripped from life before its time. A warning, desperate and full of hate. As you see this, what are you all doing?
William's trying not to soil himself at this point. It's
Cool, cool, cool.
basically the visage of all of his nightmares is popping up in front of him.
Yeah, the figure is in front of all of us, or is it behind some of us? Because if we're in a
Uh,
circle,
it is well, it is standing in the center of the circle, basically above Cyrus and Signy.
oh, okay.
Alec takes a step back and then still holding hands. Is that what we're doing? We're holding hands. But
At this moment, you can break that circle if you so choose.
Yes, Alec's going to release both hands on either side, take a step back, and say, "What is this? Cyrus, what have you done?"
It's fine. I'm doing my job, and Signy's here helping me. It will be fine. Cyrus, for a moment, was completely focused on Signy and making sure and kind of checking in with her. But as soon as the vision appeared, he's just kind of flipped right into business mode and kind of back to okay. We accomplished what we needed. Let's do this thing. No. So he will. Cyrus is going to address the spirit. But Signy, did you want to do anything before that?
Signy, you are still head back, eyes rolled back, and a mouth in a silent scream.
Okay, yeah. I know you didn't mention my name, so I'm assuming I'm not part of this noticing this creature. So
Correct.
that's what I do.
All right. So Cyrus will continue to give a good firm squeeze on Signy's hands, and we'll look up, say, Spirit that has passed, we thank you for coming to speak with us. I can feel your rage, your betrayal. I know this feeling. Many of those spirits I talk with have the same anger, rage, disappointment. But this is an opportunity for you to have some closure, for you to move forward and move past this and get down to the next stage of where you should be, so you're not caught here in an area where you do not want to be. But for us to do that, we need some information from you. Can you please tell us how it was that you came to be killed in the way that you were?
I'm muted. You see its head tilt down towards you, and you hear a low, guttural growl.
The night they came, it wasn't claws or teeth that felled me, but shadows, and a ritual as old as the moon itself. I didn't fall to my enemies. No. It was my own kind who brought me to this fate. They didn't kill me out of rage. It was all for the ritual, for their cause. The witches, the werewolves, once enemy, now work together. Under their orders, we rip the hearts from those who defy the prophecy. Our own kind, even the witches who stood against them.
What do you do?
Can you share this prophecy with us so we might understand where you are and where your enemies are.
The pact between us was sealed in blood. The witches who died, they were sacrifices to the ritual. Not victims of violence, but offerings. Their hearts are being used to fuel a terrible power. A power meant to complete the prophecy. The child. The one they call the Messiah. He is already here. But they need more. More blood. More sacrifice. All before the blood moon rises.
Do you have a name for us? This Messiah.
The child is not one I was privy to, but the place they gather in secret, La Voûte des Ombres, hidden deep within the bayou. That is where the child is being prepared, where the final ritual will take place. When the blood moon rises, they will finish what they started. The Messiah will transform, and nothing will stand in their way.
We would like to help as best we can. Is there a contact of yours, a friend, someone that we can talk to, engage their help, or perhaps us help them?
Cyrus, go ahead and make me a roll for witchy bullshit.
Witchy
Make me a
bullshit.
roll. It's going to be, I think, an empathy roll. It's going to be.
Okay.
Is observation your typical? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
your witchy bullshit roll. So
Yep.
go ahead and roll me observation, and let me
Okay.
know if you have any bonuses here. You do have an automatic -1 because Alec broke the circle.
Okay. That should even out with the Gree bag. So I think it's a flat roll. Let's go ahead and add the spirit guides, because I think that's appropriate here.
Okay.
And so we'll do a bonus 2. And this doesn't, unless this has and I have 1 bank success. Maybe I'll hold on to that. And would this be considered something that would lead to my own demise?
Not in so many words. Not unless you have an accidental misstep.
Okay. All right. So let's
Not
do that.
directly.
And 1. All right. Better than Brand.
One success. Okay.
One
okay.
success.
Good news, 1 success is better than 0 successes. Bad news, 1 success is 1 less than you needed. So you feel the wind, that cold chill begin to pick up again. Everyone, you see the candle sort of flicker in danger of being snuffed out. Alec, William, and Martha, and Wyla as well. What are the 4 of you doing? You all see this display. Signy hasn't changed. Cyrus seems to be cool, calm, and collected. The wind is picking up, and you can hear like branches creaking and like, the stone grinding and like the groans of the earth. What are you all doing?
So the vision that we're actually seeing, how corporeal is it?
It is translucent.
Okay.
But you can decide for yourself how like visceral that looks. It does look very real. It looks it literally is what you said. It looks like a manifestation of your nightmares. Given that like what you saw years ago was for a moment in time, and you've had years to sort of build this up in your head to be either more terrifying than it was, or more visually distinct. And you are seeing a manifestation and an outright confirmation that one, what you saw is what you think it was, or likely what you think it was, and two, that they exist here in the city that you are in, and you are directly interacting with them.
So because it is not completely corporeal, like if it looked like it was really there, despite the fact that it's talking and not just growling and ripping people up, if that was happening, he'd bolt. He wouldn't be able to stay there. It's just too much. But because it's corporeal or incorporeal, because it's not really there, it's more vision than not, despite how scary it is, he's just going to be crushing the hands of whoever he was holding hands with for this, and just not be able to move, and gritting and grinding his teeth and just fighting like crazy to keep it under control and not, scream and crap himself.
Okay.
Martha
and Alec?
he knew this was going to be coming up, but
yeah,
we were heading in this direction. But being presented with the reality of it is that he's doing this good is surprising.
Yeah, for sure. Like the idea that this could happen versus the face with the reality that it is happening in front of you is a very different amount of bravery that takes. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. So Alec and Martha, what are the two of you doing?
So Martha would have broken the circle as well, especially between the scary thing up in the middle of the circle, and then if William is holding hands with her and crushing her hand, she would probably not like that either. So she's also very concerned about Signy with her eyes rolled up in front of her. So Martha is doing several things at once. First of all, obviously she's looking up and going, oh my God. And then she's jerking her hand away as it's getting crushed by William. And then she's kneeling down to see Signy because she's got her eyes rolled up, and she's trying to get Signy out of this situation because now she thinks Signy's in danger from this thing that's coming down. So she starts to kind of pull her away. But before that, she did a whole bunch of crucifixes.
Makes sense. And Alec.
Alec had stepped back. Alec's been upset through this whole thing, and Cyrus, Cyrus is putting them all in danger. But the moment that the creature spoke about children, I mean, Alec is ever the parental figure for the youth, and they step forward and mutter to Cyrus, "The child, ask about the child," and then kneels down and tries to kind of block the wind from blowing out the candle. So holds their hand on either side of the flame and tries to buffer it from the wind.
Outstanding. So here's what's going to happen. Because Cyrus did not get a full success here, Alec, you can go ahead and mark angry, a well-known emotion that you experience under stress. Martha, you can go ahead and mark hopelessness, because this is the closest you've come to direct occult ghosts and witches and everything that you are abjectly against. And William, I think it's perfectly appropriate for you to take the frightened condition. So all three of you gain a free mental condition. And you all of you who are paying attention, so I imagine maybe it's just Martha. If Alec is so focused on the ritual itself, and William is basically in flight, fight, or freeze, and he's chosen the freeze option. I think it's Martha. Martha, there is a cold, a chill up your spine, and you can feel the small hair on the back of your neck start to rise. and you look around, like trying to figure out like what, as you're doing crucifixes, as you're pulling away from William, and you're trying to like figure out what to do between Cyrus and Signy. You look around and you see movement in this cemetery. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like a heroic gravekeeper running towards you. All of the movement you see is low to the ground. And you watch as spectral hands begin to pull themselves from their graves. And you see hundreds of ghosts begin to pull themselves out of the ground and rise up at their graves. And you can see the sunken, hollow, yellowed lights in their eyes all turning towards a door between their world and yours. And a cemetery worth of dead are looking at Cyrus and Signy. Martha, what do you do with that information?
So I say, guys, Cyrus, that's too many of them. You need to put some of them back. That is, look, there's a lot of them now. Like, can you see that over there? And I point to all of the.
Cyrus hears it, but he's still looking at the werewolf. So, but he hears
So
you.
as you are pointing this out, the camera cuts. We move somewhere else. Signy. You stand ankle deep in warm water. You see a grand stone altar in front of you, surrounded by dense, overgrown kudzu in the bayou. The altar is adorned with symbols that you faintly recognize from your investigations around the city. Around it, shadowy figures are gathered in a circle, their faces obscured. And a pale young boy stands at the center of the altar, eyes glowing with an unnatural light. As the blood moon rises in the sky, the figures begin chanting, and the boy's body starts to shift, his skin rippling unnervingly between the forms of human and wolf. We got back. Alec, you demand answers for the boy. William, you stand in stock panic. Martha, you are trying desperately to make your friends aware that there is an impending doom around you in this place. Cyrus, you hear the demands from Martha. You hear the demands from Alec. And you feel Signy's hands and body go rigid as you are holding her and shake as you can tell that she is experiencing something despite seeming to be just sitting here with you in the seance. Cyrus, what are you doing in this moment?
Cyrus will, still looking at the werewolf, will ask what he thinks will be his last question. What more can you tell us about the boy? What can we do? Who is he? Anything you can tell us that would help.
Born of man and beast, raised in the grace of the Lord, perverse in the rituals of darkness, he is an unholy unity.
All right, thank you. What is your name, sir, such that I can sing your praises with those in the afterlife, that I may pass on a good word, that they may help shepherd you to where you need to be next?
Martha, as you hear this continue, and you hear Cyrus trying to wrap this seance as quickly as possible, you look around and you realize that in these seconds it took you to look away and try to gather Cyrus's attention, the ghostly forms around the cemetery are moving closer. And as you look back up from him, you see that the first few rows of them are sprinting towards your group. Martha, what are you doing?
I try harder to get Cyrus's attention, so I kind of get in front of him, like, Cyrus, over there.
Okay, so you're like physically moving him
like,
around.
physically, like,
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
he at that point he will look and he will see what's coming.
okay. So we'll pause on you for a second, Cyrus. Don't worry, I'm coming for you. Alec, what are you doing?
Does Alec hear Martha or see these?
Oh, yeah,
ghosts
Martha
once they're
is- I
pointed
am-
out?
For sure, absolutely.
All right, Alec blows out the candle.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, I will pause on that. William, you hear this going around, that there are ghosts, like that you see, like perhaps you're like jostled by Martha as she like moves towards Cyrus. What are you doing in this moment, William?
Honestly, he would be just too hyper fixated on the werewolf to
Okay.
really be able to focus in on anything else, because he was already fighting to not basically panic and run away. So unless like he's still like, so he like grabs his, look there,
Yeah,
we gotta go. So
I think.
he's gonna have trouble using his brain at the moment.
Where is your pistol?
Would be in his coat pocket.
Okay. I think you do feel that initial jostle when Martha like moves past you, right? And when she like pulls her hand away as well. And you feel another one now as you feel something tugging at your jacket. And perhaps you see it out of the corner of your eye, perhaps you don't. But the shaking hands of a teenage girl is rattling the revolver as she's pointing it at ghosts. Alec, you blow out the candle. Cyrus, you are jostled and forced to look at the impending ghosts. I need you to roll me something, Cyrus, to see if you let go of Signy's hands. I think...
Yeah, Cyrus's instinct is to pull her into a hug, But-
Ooh.
but sure. I mean, I'm just letting you know what my next. As soon as the candle went out and the energy of the seance would presumably start to drop, he would pull her in. Would be his instinct, but
Okay.
I'll roll whatever you want.
Okay, so yes, so we'll go with that, right? So you're being like physically moved by Martha to try to do this. The candle's blown out. You're getting tugged one way. You feel the rigidity of Signy, and you go to pull her towards you as you feel that breath from Alec. So go ahead and roll me a force.
Not my best, but we'll see. Force it is. Yeah, that's 0.
Okay. Signy,
I rolled double ones, by the way. So-
I love that for you.
Yes.
Signy,
Mm-hmm.
you see a young boy with striking otherworldly features playing alone in a darkened room. The atmosphere is tense and oppressive. The boy's innocent actions seem to have supernatural consequences. When he touches objects, they tremble and crack as if responding to his hidden power. Suddenly, the boy shifts violently, and you can see like a yellowed glow in his eyes. And you hear a low, guttural growl. And as you look around the room's features sort of come into view, and you can see aged wooden floors. You can see shelves of books, all ending in an arch at the tip. And you can see that the glow of the moon comes through a circular window. And as you cast your eyes towards the window, you see the symbol of the cross on a stained glass window. We cut back.
You must stop them. Before the blood moon, they have already gathered enough power to begin, but the ritual can still be broken. If you fail, all is doom.
And the ghost fades, as if pulled back down into the smoke of the candle. And everyone who looks around can see these ghostly, spectral beings charging towards you, reaching and grabbing towards Cyrus. And Cyrus, you still feel as if you are sitting in about 2 inches of water. You can feel hands grasping at your legs, your waist, pulling you down, cold, clammy, waterlogged. And you look down in this second as you pull Signy towards you, and you can see the faces of everyone you knew on your last ship's crew. The faces of the drowned, pulling you down to their watery grave. Signy, the last thing you see before you awake in the arms of Cyrus. You watch the water rise, and that same kudzu choked by you. The water is dark, almost black, and as it swells, it spills over the banks, carrying with it the bodies of men, women, children, their faces pale and lifeless, and each of them bears a mark. Faint, glowing crescent moon. And as the flood reaches you, you see that the water isn't water. It is blood and the salt water of tears. And Cyrus, as you collapse back onto your back, pulling Signy across, knocking the crystal ball loose from its holdings, tipping candles over, almost knocking Martha and Alec back, who are both bent over you. You feel Signy's body like a quick shudder, and you hear a raspy breath into her lungs, and you feel the rigidity of her body slacken, and you feel her breathe as the vision of the spectral werewolf disappears. And a chorus of screams echo through the graves as one by one, like candle smoke, the specters of St. Louis Cemetery number 1 disappear into the night.
Come back to me, Signy. Signy. Come back.
I think she draws in that deep breath, and she kind of leans over so she's not coughing on him, but she's leaning over and she's like coughing up water. And I think she just, she doesn't say anything, but she's just like that really deep breath. And she, yeah. She doesn't say anything, but I think she doesn't say anything. She's just taking deep breaths. In this
And Cyrus will just kind of feeling her relax and breathe. He'll just kind of mutter, All right. If she's safe. Father, if it's your turn to take me, then I'm ready.
You say that, and though they are the last to go, you feel the wet, cold hands recede.
You say that out loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think when he says that, he feels like she tightens her grip on him, so like she's holding him back now.
And as he feels that kind of fade away, he just says, Signy, I'm sorry. These damn ley lines was way more difficult to control than I expected. I'm sorry I pulled you in this way. Are you all right?
She takes a shaky breath and she nods, and she says, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault."
Martha, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Martha, because she was already kind of in between them, jostling Cyrus, and she had been also trying to do something with Signy, will also kind of hug Signy, and pull her away from Cyrus a little bit, give him a disapproving look.
She'll pat your hand. Martha, are you okay?
I'm fine. Thank goodness you're okay. We almost all got eaten by spirits coming out of graves. That was too many, Cyrus. That was just absolutely too many. You need to call fewer next time.
Cyrus kind of realizes that he's still holding Signy, and he'll like kind of relax, kind of move his arms and just say, criticism accepted, Martha. I'll do better next time. And then he'll just like lean his head back and just like lay on the grass. Like,
yeah, and
then
Signy
he will
shake her
exhale
head
for the first time.
Yeah, she shakes her head. It wasn't his fault. It's just the dam broke. And she looks around at everyone, and I'm assuming they don't look dead anymore.
They do not look dead.
Okay.
Alec picked up the candle and threw it. And then did we make a circle or something like that? Because as they're all talking, Alec, with a very disgruntled look on their face, is like trying to undo all the circle and undo everything associated with the ceremony.
I think Cyrus just laid. I think he just laid candles around. And I took some. I took. Yeah,
there was two candles, one on each side, and then a crystal ball in the middle.
Yeah, I think I took some artistic liberties with the circle. It made sense in my head.
Well, so whatever, Alec will do it in a way that is extremely angry. So if there's lots of candles, there's going to be a lot of kicking of candles and maybe some stomping of candles and a lot of cursing about damned ghosts, and Cyrus is ridiculous, and Signy's always getting herself into trouble.
Alec, stop. Alec, wait.
What?
And she hangs her head, and I think Cyrus might notice that she's still like gripping his hand or something like that. And I wasn't truthful before. And she can't look at anybody. I kept it from you. That
Say it.
The victims in my vision, I know who they are. from
Who?
the first night. It's all of us.
Now Martha's giving Signy the disapproving look. And she said, why didn't you tell us?
Before we came here, we put ourselves into danger.
We're always putting ourselves into danger.
Yes, well, we should know.
She definitely can't look at Alec in the face in this moment.
We have children with us.
Yeah. And Martha looks at Wyla.
I know. I couldn't. I was told never to draw attention to it. And I knew that if I mentioned it, it wouldn't change anything anyway. That we would still go.
Well,
You never know with visions. Sometimes they're a warning, sometimes they're a premonition, and sometimes they are
No,
just ways to scare us.
not with me.
what do you mean not with you?
If I see the death of someone, it always happens.
Martha continues with the
Not-
thing.
Not
Alec,
this time,
go-
Signy.
Ever since I was a young woman. And she'll glance at Cyrus, but I'm assuming he's still got the shroud around him.
Oh, he does for sure. His never goes away.
Yeah. She will glance at Cyrus like conversationally, but then that's like she forgot, and then she remembers and she winces and she looks away.
Alec's gonna take their hat off, their top hat off, and throw it to the ground in anger. Like rub their face with their hands in frustration, and then look at Signy and say, I think we all carry secrets. Those secrets, they shape who we are. It's strange sometimes how these things that we hide, they can define us the most. Don't let yourself be defined by this darkness, Signy.
We should leave. Leave New Orleans and go back to Covencrest.
We cannot.
We should send the girls. We should send the girls back, but we need to stay. People are in danger here.
You did not hear what the werewolf was telling us, the spirit that we summoned. If we don't act, something terrible is going to happen. We have more information now than we did before. This did not go as planned. This went much worse than I would have expected, but none of us are harmed. And we have now much more information than we did before. There's a child that's being groomed for horrible things, and we had no idea. We at least have an angle to go on now. More to learn.
An altar in the bayou?
Yes, the child was in the bayou.
I saw him. Was it a boy, Mike? I saw him.
Yes.
And how old were they? Roughly?
You know, how much time has Signy spent around children?
Not a lot.
Just while Martha.
Yeah, just Wyla and Martha than any normal single young woman who doesn't have any attachments to anything.
Well, you did also come from an older village, in the old
Yeah.
country. So I don't know how many young whippersnappers were just rooting around in the town. Definitely younger than Wyla and Martha. You're single digits. Maybe school age.
Mm.
Maybe old enough to have started school, to have been in school.
A young boy. He was changing, becoming part human, part werewolf, but not like a werewolf, like he was both. And there was people worshiping at an altar that he was in. And she kind of shifts her body, and there's like the dirt. She draws a circle in the dirt and the cross. I saw him in a room. There's this window with this cross in it.
The spirit called him the Messiah, or a Messiah. I don't recall. There is something different than either werewolf or witch. Some unholy combination or pact that elements of both have come together to create. So we don't have here a war of werewolves versus witches. We have a war here of werewolves and witches against werewolves and witches. And we are smack dab in the middle.
We discussed
Martha,
this
go ahead
elsewhere.
and Martha, while we're standing here, go ahead and roll me an observation with a +1.
Okay.
While she's doing that, does Wyla still have my gun?
She does. Yep.
Okay.
She's not like pointing it out at anybody anymore, so the rattle has stopped. But she definitely just like dropped it to the side, and she's basically standing next to you with a similar face to you, as she just holds this like heavy revolver in her right hand.
Okay. As soon as Martha's done with her thing, you'll deal with her.
Nope. 7 dice and nada.
Okay. Here's what I will say. As simple as a circle with the sign of the cross in it is on the ground, something about that you are drawn to, Martha. In the story that Signy is telling, when she draws that, for some reason you can't take your eyes off it.
All right. Well, so when Alex suggests that the children go back, she now moves her disapproving look over to Alec. And then as Signy is doing the telling the story and making the circle on the ground, her eyes get stuck on that. Something about that symbol. It looks very familiar. I feel like I've seen it before. I can't remember where.
It's a
think she
cross,
will-
Martha. You've seen it everywhere.
Oh, something specifically about the circle and the cross in it. Like maybe it was in a building that I've seen or I was in
Maybe some of the books that you and Alec were looking in.
or yes, or maybe that's true. We saw a bunch of symbols in the books. Maybe it was in the books. Maybe we should go back and look into the books. Maybe there's that symbol's there.
There were bookshelves around him. And she draws the shape of the bookshelves because you said they were rounded to a point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were like arched.
Yeah, they were arched bookshelves.
Do I feel like I've ever been in a room with that symbol and arched bookshelves? I do have a local.
You can go
bonus.
ahead and give me another observation with a +1. I'll say that
Okay.
can jog some memory.
I do have a +2 for local expert. I don't know if that
This
counts.
is less like local knowledge and more personal
Okay.
knowledge.
All right. So
Can we like help by saying stuff like, Martha, haven't you told us before that you had you worked with the nuns here in this area? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll say if you guys want to just collectively try to like offer insight to her, I'll give her an additional +1.
All right, so +2.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Whew. Apparently I needed that extra one.
Something about everything that Signy and Alec have just said. A window high above, reflecting the moon, with this symbol in a room full of arched bookshelves, helping the nuns. You've seen this window, Martha. You have looked out of this window for many a night. You know for sure that this window resides in the Abbey of St. Therese.
Okay. Oh, I do remember it. That room's in the Abbey. The Abbey, you know, where I borrowed my nun habit.
That's convenient since we know where it is. So you've been to that nunnery before? Convent? Is that what it is?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I went to school there for a while. You know, back before my parents wanted me to marry the evil Mr. Snarfblow.
Do you know this? Maybe you know this boy already. Can I describe him?
Yeah. He has slight features. He has blonde hair. He looks like he is probably definitely younger than Martha, right? Like I said, maybe entering school age, for whatever that means here. Yeah, very, very slight features, tall for his age, perhaps. And he didn't look like he was like gaunt or emaciated in any of the things, so he's being cared for at least. But other than that, he was fairly nondescript. Black trousers, a white tie at the neck style shirt, very simple dress.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
For the attic vision and then the altar vision, did the boy look like he was there voluntarily? Or is he being either at the altar against his will, or is he being kept in the room against his will?
Interesting. Roll me observation. That's your insight roll.
Mm-hmm. I cannot ignore my conditions for observation. 1 success. Yay.
Okay. 1 success means I will answer one of your questions. So either
The room.
you can ask a question about the room or about the altar.
Yeah, I want specifically about the room. I want to know if he's being kept there in that room against his will.
As you try to cast your memory back to what you saw about the room does have the furnishings of like a place that is his. You do recall that there were multiple beds in there, so perhaps more people than just he alone stays there. You don't get the feeling that he is being forced, you don't get the feeling that like he's captured and placed in this room.
Mm-hmm.
But it has nowhere else to go vibes.
Okay.
So like forced in that there's nothing better.
Okay. So
As
it's
in not his choice.
Yeah, so it's not giving he has a special powers and the nuns are locking him away because he has scary satanic powers or something. It's not giving
No, it is not that.
Okay.
Nothing about the room seemed harsh other than the like Spartan-esque style of the room. Which like what limited knowledge you have of abbeys, that seems appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a question, Mike.
Yeah.
And feel free to be as limited in your answer as you would like. The abbey that Martha and Alec went to steal her habit,
Borrow.
borrow her habit. Does Alec know that abbey?
Roll me an observation. See if you can cast your memory back that far. I'll give you a +1 for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Actually,
Cover up
I'll
some of
give
the
you.
conditions.
I will give you a +1, and I'm going to ask you a question that will either result in nothing or an additional +1, depending on how this goes. For Alec, is trauma something that you hold on to, or something that you push as far away as possible?
What did Alec just say to Signy? Alec is defined by their secrets.
Okay, you have a +2.
Oh.
You know what?
You can-
Yeah, I'm gonna redo that. Can I?
Okay. Yep.
That
do I
was
get the
so many
bonuses again?
ones.
You'll get the
Do I-
bonuses again. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Alec's gonna
Much
be
better.
hopeless.
That's
and-
fitting. That's fitting.
Yeah.
Hopeless all around.
Hopeless and angry right now.
In a moment, Melissa, I will have you explain whatever plays across your face as you attempt to jog the memories of Martha, and Martha begins to discuss what happened. Saying certain words over and over again is unintentionally drawing up thoughts in your own mind of your own experiences with the church. And in the moment where it was a playful adolescent idea to steal a habit, or to borrow a habit, in a bid for disguise here in the city, never once did it cross your mind. Never once did it cross your mind to look around, to really see the sign above the wrought iron gate, to look at the grounds, to look at the building. But as more of these words of schoolhouse, nunnery, the symbol, the name, Abbey of Santoris, you have been here approximately 5 years ago. You lived there for a few months, and you left there with less than you came.
Alec is trembling and has been upset, has been turning in circles, and pauses for a moment. And once again, Alec's hands return back to rub against their face and then run through their hair. And they say, the past, it's never truly gone, is it? And then looks around, looks at Cyrus and says, "What are we going to do? Are we setting up camp here? Let's go."
Yeah.
We should go. We can leave.
We
But
should
Alec-
definitely leave.
Alec, are you? Let's come. We'll walk and talk. And he quickly picks up his crystal ball and the cloth that he put down, not worrying about the candle, and just looks at Alec and says, "Come, let's talk while we walk. What's
Signy
the
will pick
matter?
up
There's
that.
something. What's going on, Alec?"
We what do you mean, what is going on? We almost got destroyed by an army of ghosts, and there was a werewolf, a soul werewolf that was, and Signy was, I need my hat. And
Sig picks it up and she'll hand it over.
Alec puts on their hat and stomps out of the cemetery.
As you go to leave, there is a squawk that sort of breaks the awkwardness of the moment, and you see Eddie is sat back away from the group. Squawks sat on a gravestone, and Alec, as you leave, you see a long, low form sheepishly lope out from behind one of the gravestones, as Emerson, ever the hunting dog, never the ghost hunting dog, lopes out from behind a gravestone and sheepishly makes his way over to you.
As Alec passes through the gates, Alec will say, "Heal," without a glance back. And, what time is it? It's nighttime, right?
It's nighttime. It's very
Alec-
nighttime.
Alec will be stalking towards their hotel, which I think is where they decided they were all staying, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely where William is heading because they have a bar and he needs a drink at this point. Also, before, as we all turn to leave too, he's going to be gently retrieving his revolver from Wyla, pat her on the shoulder to, even though he doesn't feel any reassurance, to try and reassure her, and say, don't be a thief.
Yeah, she like, there's a moment where like she like doesn't, like, you go to reach for it and she has a confused look of like, why are you reaching out? I don't have anything for you. And then you like grab like towards like the barrel and the cylinder, and then she realizes what she did, and just begins to mumble apologies under her breath. She seems to be in as much shock as you were, but hers was ghosts. And she quietly begins to walk over to Cyrus and fall in line behind him.
Yeah, and I think Signy will like sheepishly walk out behind everybody.
As little Eddie squawks, Martha will look over at him. Does it look like Eddie's actually trying to like draw attention to that gravestone at all, or is he just randomly squawking?
No, Eddie
Martha?
was calling out Emerson.
Okay,
Aw.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then Martha just kind of signals to Eddie, and he comes and sits on her shoulder, and she says to him, "Oh, little Eddie, I don't know what I'm doing with these people. It all seems so hopeless," and follows in the back of the.
Okay. As you all quietly, I think it's that scene where like it's like it's the ratty end of the night and everyone has sort of their own shit going on, so you've all left together, but you're all like 5 to 10 feet apart on the sidewalk as you're all walking in the same. It's when you like say goodbye and you realize your cars are in the same direction. You all just awkwardly walk 5 to 10 feet away from each other towards
Mike,
the
why
building.
did you say that? I'm so embarrassed.
Everyone's going to the same place. Yeah, and for a little levity, in my mind, there is a certain playful animosity between Alec and Martha, and there is equally present in their animals. So Eddie was being like, "Look at this scaredy cat," and called him out. Yeah, the six of you make your way back to the hotel. Quietly, as you all enter, there is a greeting. And you see by the time it gets to Martha, the like concierge, the hotelier, if you're G, is a little annoyed by the time it gets to Martha, though he's doing his best to hide it. In that, like, he has greeted each of you, knowing that you're from the same party, and then greeted the next one, and then a minute went by and he greeted the next one. It's the most people he's greeted since like noon. So he greets all of you, and you all enter into the hotel. Where are you going? What are you doing? I assume William's headed directly to the bar.
I think Cyrus is headed to the bar too, although he is kind of he's looking both at either Alec or Signy to see if either one of them are interested in conversation. Put it that way. But he's not going to initiate anything.
Yeah, Signy probably would be, but she's kind of hanging back. Only Alec kind of and Martha, I guess, expressed displeasure at the truth that she laid out, but I think she's feeling kind of guilty right now, and that can be read off of her pretty easily. And so so she's like sheepishly hanging back, and then when we return to the hotel, I think she does she doesn't go to the bar with you guys. She heads up to her room.
Okay.
Martha follows William to the bar, as William is currently the only person in the party she's not upset with.
Makes sense. And Alec, where are you headed?
Alec stomped into the hotel, paused at the front desk, ordered dinner up to their room, and then went there without a word to anyone else.
Okay. So I'm sorry, Signy, you said you were going to the bar as well?
No, she's going back to
Okay,
her room.
you're going to your room, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So until Matt gets back, we'll follow. We'll start with Signy. So Signy, you head up the stairs, the grand foyer up the stairs, and up to the upper floors. As you head solo back to your room, what's going through Signy's mind as you walk the halls of this hotel?
Yeah, I think the shame of lying to her friends. I'll say friends, but it's still like they still don't have that real closeness that maybe people would normally associate with friends. So maybe she would say more colleagues right now. Yeah, so there's still like a little bit of that shame there and guilt. For maybe she could have changed their minds if she spoke up sooner. Maybe they wouldn't have come. But she knows that wouldn't have made a difference in the long run based on her experience. And she still feels she feels actually no, I'm not going to specify what she feels about that. Yeah, so maybe she's feeling a little sorry for herself in this moment. Now that she's alone, she's allowing herself to feel sorry for herself. And so she's going up to her room and she just lets herself in, and I think she like stands there in like the darkness with like the moonlight coming through the window. And she doesn't really know what to do with herself.
Okay.
Yeah, she might start running the water for a bath.
Okay. So as you sort of like the moonlight filters into the room, as you sort of come to your own senses, we will cut to Alec. Alec, you stomped through the main lobby. You reached out to the concierge and asked for room service to be delivered to your room, and I assume in the similar angry stomping, you also headed to your room, awaiting your tray of food. So as you get to your room, Alec, what are you doing?
Alec mutters under their breath, and then simply like walks in circles around the room, tries to take up their essays of Ralph Waldo Emerson, which are always such a comfort, picks it up and opens it up, still pacing frenetically, and looks down and attempts to read and finds that they cannot, and slams the book closed and drops it on the table, and then just continues to pace for some time.
Okay. Eventually, 20 minutes or so goes by and food is delivered to your room. There's a wrapped knock at the door, and a tray of food with a silver cloche is brought into your room as soon as you open the door. And the bellboy stands at the edge of the door after having delivered the cart, and just sort of stands there waiting.
Alec, as soon as they walked in the door, was very abrupt. Well, hurry it up, and is already pulling out the tip. And is like behind them, like, set it down right there. Yes, now out the door.
He's
I
like
need my
moving the
privacy.
tray as you're calling out demands.
And shoves the tip into their hand and then shoves them right out the door, slams it in their face.
And yeah, before they can even like say like thank you, you're welcome, any sort of pleasantries, he is out of the room, leaving you with whatever you ordered for dinner. And we cut from Alec's room down to the bar, where William is sat beside Cyrus, and at the end of the bar near them is Martha and Wyla. Wyla looking a little sheepish, a little out of sorts, given what just happened. What are the three of you doing?
William is definitely drinking. He is still shaky, still trying to process even the visage of a werewolf, let alone the real thing being there in his brain. It's just everything's just spinning out of control, and he's trying to slow it down. And he'll just be muttering under his breath. It's like I knew this was coming. I thought I was prepared. I knew this was coming. I thought I could deal with this. He's just basically scared, leaning into his whole frightened condition at the moment.
Yeah, there's a little bit more rattle in the ice cubes of the glass as you drink at the bar. Cyrus and Martha, what are you doing?
Martha orders a root beer, and sits sort of moping, looking at her drink once it's served. I don't know how we're ever gonna fix any of this. We don't even know when the next blood moon is, and even if I do know that room's in the Abbey, how are we gonna get in? And if we do help the boy, what if he doesn't want to come with us? And what would we do with a little boy anyway? And I really don't want to have to do something horrible to him. Maybe we should just all go home. But I don't have a home. This is awful.
It's all awful.
As I wave my hands around like I'm talking, you all hear this speech from Martha. Whether it was to anyone or not, you're only a few feet apart in the bar.
Whether Martha we don't have to do anything that would make us less of who we are or worse people than we already are. I don't want to have to do anything to a young boy either, other than try to keep him from a fate that would be worse. So we all just try and do our best. And we don't know yet. We have much more information that we're going to have to find out and learn about the situation. And perhaps we can find a way through, which will work for everyone. But But I do not think going home will make this all go away.
This all seems so impossible.
I've said that very thing so many times before. But with the right friends, the right group of people around you, I found there's always a way.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to do. Maybe I should just go to bed.
Sometimes that's the right course of action. A
I
little sleep, a little breakfast in the morning.
take my root beer and poutingly go upstairs.
So Cyrus had ordered a double whiskey. Not a werewolf whiskey, not a werewolf moonshine whiskey, but just regular whiskey. And is kind of sipping it more for nerves than any actual, like, it's kind of milking it basically. But he will ask Wyla if she's doing okay.
Yes, the medicinal use of whiskey. Wyla is sort of there, and like she didn't order a drink, but she did grab a glass that was just on the table from like the last person that was there, that the bartender hadn't gotten yet, and is just like sort of spinning it in her hands. And when you like attempt to speak to her, there's a little bit of like a jump in her shoulders, as she was not anticipating anyone speaking to her at all, and like you get the impression that she sort of like lost herself in the anxiety of spinning that glass and sort of forgot where she was, and she looks to you, and there's like genuine like fear and concern in her eyes, as she looks to you and she says, "Is this it? Is this how it is now?"
Sometimes with certain investigations, this will be a situation that comes up. We will feel lost. We will feel hopeless. We will feel like there's nothing we can do. Feel scared for our own lives and our well-being. But for me, I just imagine all of the other people involved, the people of the city, the children, the grandparents, the parents that have their own children and trying to raise them in a safe place to be happy. I try to use that to keep me going. It gives me something to hold on to and something to keep pushing forward, even if I don't know how this is going to work out for myself, which right now I don't have a great feeling about, but that doesn't mean we should stop. And as I am a testament, I've been here many times before, and I'm still here before you. You can be too.
Is it always them at the cost of us?
Not always, but sometimes. I wish I could tell you something different. But there is a cost to doing this. She
nods and slips from her stool. Glass sort of does that little spin a little bit. And as she goes to walk past you, she does like put an arm like on your shoulder, or like your bicep area. And she says, I think I'll see myself to bed. Good night, Cyrus.
Good night.
Good night, William. And she bids you both adieu and somberly goes to her room, leaving William and Cyrus alone at the bar. William, what are you doing?
He's still processing everything in his head. And of course, he's just going to drink heavily. But I mean, you know, for him, that's kind of normal.
The normal.
Trying to process everything in his brain with his, you know, in the downtime between adventures. Of course, he picked up psychoanalyzing, and he's trying to coach himself out of his fear and process what he saw, and he is failing miserably. You know, he can he can fix others, but he just can't fix himself. At some point, he is just going to give up, I think, and just go medicate himself into a stupor, like the olden days.
You, Cyrus, you see, Cyrus, you are uniquely suited in this moment, whether you like it or not, unfortunately. You had a conversation earlier today with William about mental health in general, and your own anxieties and the things that have haunted you in the past coming to you in not so many words bite you in the ass today. And despite your assistance in Grindstone all those months ago, and despite your assistance and guidance in on Fisher's Island just a few months ago, everything about tonight reminds you of why you got out. The fear that you can see, the fear, the anger, the hopelessness that you can see reflected in the eyes of your companions is a look you have seen all too often. The conversation about loss, the greater good, the realistic finality of life, the inevitable death that you are all racing toward at breakneck speeds. The desire to go home. This conversation is a conversation that you have had far more than you ever thought you would, and never hoped you would have to again. And here you are, as you watch William pour himself into another glass. Do you say anything to him before he leaves?
Yeah, Cyrus will kind of stare at William, and just before he pours himself another glass, like when he grabs the bottle or slides the glass over to the bartender, whichever makes more sense, Cyrus he's kind of looking at William, and he'll reach his hand over and kind of put it over the glass as if to block it. And he'll look at William and say, "One thing I've learned about this job over the many years I've done this is that I think it's easy for each of us to not see a future for ourselves, maybe want the help for ourselves that we need. But the one thing that keeps us all together is our ability to help one another. And so for you, William, I need your help. I am not well, and I need someone who can help me. So even though you're not in a good place, there's around these types of creatures, clearly you have trauma in your past. Working through that is difficult, tough thing. But the path through is you're a healer. And myself and the others, we need you to help heal us. So before you start putting yourself in a place where you're not only not helpful to yourself, But the rest of us, think about that. Try to find that as your place. And the way that maybe you can kind of push the pain aside and do what needs to be done.
So first off, I think we would have probably had the bartender just leave the goddamn bottle.
That's what I figured.
So he's probably like nowhere. He'll look Cyrus just dead in the eye and just like, healing others is not the problem. I just don't think I'm going to ever be healed from this, from what happened. Every time I think I have a handle on it, something happens. Something brings it back. And this is the worst. I don't even know what we're doing here at this point. We've been in situations that honestly 10 years ago I never would have even contemplated as possibly being real, but none of it felt injurious or deadly to us. Tonight in that graveyard, that felt like a possible ending for some of us. Seemed like it for you. And, you know, there's only so far that medicine or psychoanalyzing or anything can go to do anything about that. I was completely useless. I was frozen. I didn't even realize. While it took my gun out of my pocket, I didn't even feel that. I didn't even notice it. Till we turned around to leave and I saw her holding it. I don't know what use I'm going to be if this is the fight that we're going to be facing.
I understand. And I will say that I don't think, as you said, you may never be whole. This wound may never heal, may never scar. I won't pretend that my wounds have healed and scarred over and they're perfectly fine. They're not, clearly, as you were talking to me about them earlier. And I, for one, appreciate you trying to help me through that, because much of the things we see are not going to get better. They're not going to heal over for ourselves. But if we can help those around us to try to do their best, if you can help me with mine, I will try to help you with yours.
He'll let out just a very long sigh and kind of, you know, slump and resign himself to the situation. He'll grab the bottle, he'll fill his glass up all the way just right up to the edge and stand up and shake his head and just say, why couldn't it have just been witches? And then just start walking up to his room.
I'll not be arguing with that. Sleep well, William. See you in the morning.
Cyrus, you remain the last person from your group in the bar at the hotel. How do you end your night?
He'll finish his drink, but it takes a good hour. It takes a very long time where he's just sitting there staring, wallowing to a certain extent. On more than one occasion, he puts his head down on the bar and just starting to mutter to himself as he will. This time, actually, to himself, not to the to the folks that he's normally talking to. Mostly saying things like, "I knew this was going to happen. This is exactly why I got out in the first place. What am I doing here? You might be able to save all of these folks if you just let it go." And then after his drink is done, he gets up and he leaves a tip on the bar for the bartender and turns to walk out and just kind of says, but you know you're not going to do that because you can't let these things go. And you can't let bad things happen if you can do something about them. And then he walks up and goes to bed. And mostly doesn't sleep.
Before we transition from night to day, we have one more scene. In the room of Signy Welker. Signy, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think we see her leave her room, actually. Her door opens. And she hasn't changed. She's completely still covered in dirt and grime from sitting or being on the ground in the cemetery, and she heads up to the floor above, and she goes and knocks on a room door.
Whose door?
Cyrus's door.
Oh. Cyrus, you hear a late knock at your door as you are not sleeping.
Cyrus will get up. Kind of not surprised that he got a knock on his door, although he wasn't sure who would come knocking. But given the circumstances of the evening, he's been here before, and he will open the door.
Okay.
And Signy is standing there.
He will not react outwardly, but just kind of opens the door and says, "Come on in." Unless you'd rather walk.
This is fine. And she she holds up a bottle of whiskey. Good Scottish whiskey.
Oh no, that is a sight for sore eyes. I'm not sleeping anyway, so this might help. So please come on in.
Yeah, she steps in and she like glances at him and then looks away again. And yeah, she comes in. I couldn't sleep, and I'm just sitting there in the dark and thinking about things.
Yep. He'll grab a couple of glasses and
And she like ding, takes the glass stopper off, and she pours them to each like a double finger, and I think the bottle like tinks against the glass a couple times, and then she puts it down and hands him his glass.
well, here's to not being dead. Always a start. It's usually more than I can ask for in the morning. Takes a sip. It may not feel like it, but you did well tonight. The circumstances around the cemetery and the power that's running through this city and the cemetery itself is, well, more than I could have handled on my own. So you helped me there. And it was a lot to expose you to that for the first time. So you did well.
It made sense, and for my part in it, I feel like I could have been more helpful. You were nothing but supportive to me, but I didn't want to go back into that alley. And you know why now. So I'm sorry that things got out of hand. I feel like it's partially my fault.
I appreciate that. I pushed things. I pushed you. I was insensitive, and I pushed you because, as you heard, I'm dying.
I
I'm
know.
cursed, and I suspect that you knew.
She
But that
nods.
may be.
I knew from before we left Coven Crest.
I put that together. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm not going to dwell on it.
You and me both. It was a shock. And maybe I has been behaving oddly since then. And
We all behave oddly. Look at this group. We don't get into this by behaving normally, but I hear what you're saying. Oddly, even for you. But
and I don't know what to do about it. You're dying, and I wish for everything that that wasn't the case.
well,
The last time I saw this, there was nothing I could do.
well, I'm not gone yet. There's still time. But I will say that the reason I pushed you so hard tonight and put us all in danger is because if I'm going to go, you are the one with the sight, and you are the one that's closest to be ready. Martha has a touch of the sight as well, although I don't think she would have done well tonight if I would have put her in the position that I put you in. But I'm feeling a little desperate here to make sure that this group's going to be safe in the future, and I'm not going to be here forever. And when I found out that that might be sooner than later, I panicked a bit and maybe pushed you earlier into this than I should have. But you need to be in a place where you are not afraid of your visions, where you are in control of your visions to an extent where they don't frighten you. You use them as a tool, just like you would a knife or your lock picks, something that is yours to control, yours to guide, yours to use, to help you not only solve these situations we're in, but also to keep everyone safe. You cannot be afraid, but it was not my right to push you this hard, this fast. So for that, I'm sorry.
Well, no hard feelings, but apology accepted. I came to this country to find out answers about why I see things before they happen. Ever since I was a little girl, I could, and my mother, she knew, and I think she had the same ability, but she never could explain anything to me. I think she was part of the craft. Sometimes I saw her doing strange rituals, but she never taught me anything. She just, before she died, she gave me this, and she turns it over, and there's not on this, but on the back, there's the Mena letters symbol, the unicursal hexagram carved into it. She told me to find the Mena letters, that they would help. And I feel like I've been running, ever since I got here, I've been running from it. So I think you did what you needed to do, and I think you did what I needed you to do.
It sounds like perhaps I did what your mother should have done, meaning no disrespect, but I think sometimes our parents, in their effort to protect us, aren't doing us any favors later.
True, yes.
They mean well, but
She was filled with fear, I think. And I guess I carry some of that with me. And just to see this shroud over you it's very hard.
well, I appreciate you caring about me in that way. I'm worrying about my well-being.
Well, I dare to say that we've become friends over these past few months. I hope that's not too forward of me to say.
No, not forward at all. I feel the same. As I said, we have a common kinship in how we find our place in the world. Things we do, the way that we do it, the visions and the sights we have. They're not quite the same, but they're close. And sounds like from a familial perspective, well, we may have some similarities there. My father is also not the most supportive person there ever was. So where you have the memory of your mother, my father is still around, and he's constantly reminding me of how I am failing and the ways that I have failed him. And so I a bit envy where you're at. At least you have a memory that maybe you can adjust sometimes. So
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, I wouldn't consider you even close to being a failure, Cyrus. I think out of everyone I think we would all agree, the others included, that you are the one thing that we can count on.
I'm going to keep trying to make that true. But I've not always been successful. And tonight was a situation which was very close. Normally, these seances, the spirits, they're not dangerous. Annoying, yes. Hurtful sometimes. Generally informative, sometimes liars. All of these things. But tonight was something different. It was more than I expected. So there is some danger there. I lied to you earlier, but it's not something that happens often. So just have to be more careful.
I had a feeling something, but I trusted you. I may not have trusted myself, but I trusted you. So,
well, I'll keep trying to be worthy of that trust. And as I trust you as well, I will ask you, if you see something that might be wrong with me with your sight, I would appreciate you telling me. That way I can do something about it.
I honestly don't know. I've seen it before. The same shroud. It was over my father. And he died. His body failed and he just slipped away. And I think that was also a breaking point for my mother.
Well, if it is a curse, there's a source. And where there's a source, we can stop the flow. But one thing at a time. We have other oddness we need to deal with right now, and then we can get to that.
You don't want to leave, I take it?
I can't leave. If I was the kind of person who was actually going to leave, I would have never come back in the first place. I tried to leave. Tried to get out, but the spirits won't allow it. My conscience won't allow it. I'm here to help you all and to help keep you safe and to keep these people safe in this city and this country and this world. And I know that even if it kills me, that's my purpose. That's my goal.
Okay, then. You try and save the world, and I'll make sure you don't slip under the surface. How about that?
It's a good deal to start.
You and Alec and the girls and William. I think you're the only family that I have left. So while I don't want something horrible to happen here, I would let this city burn to save you guys. But that's probably not the proper thing to do, but I don't think it's worth our lives.
I understand. And you are all the only family I have as well. At least living, that is.
All right, so how about in the morning? And she realized she hasn't like taken a sip of her drink at all.
He hasn't either.
Yeah. And she'll like go and she'll put it down. All right. Then in the morning, you and I, and she dusts some of the dirt off of her blouse and off her skirt. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, as they say, and we will rally the troops.
We'll rally the troops. And perhaps when things are quieter, we can have more of these chats.
Yeah, I would like that.
That's what Well, I hope you sleep at least a little lighter tonight.
You too. And she will, she moves past him and she's gonna, as she walks past, she just leans over and gives him a peck on the cheek and
He returns it.
yeah. Oh. And then she lets herself out.
My question for all of you before we wrap this session of Mundus Novus is what prevents each of you from having the fitful rest you deserve? In no particular order.
Say that again.
What prevents you from having the
Okay.
good night's sleep you deserve?
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, Martha is should be disturbed at the fact that, Signy had, a vision of all of them dying, but she doesn't really actually believe that's going to happen. She's 17 and invincible and immortal, as all 17-year-olds are.
Of
So
course.
that doesn't really, it's a little scary, but actually what bothers her the most is what Alex said about secrets and how we all have them. And as mad as she is at Signy for having kept that secret, she can't help but feel guilty about all the secrets she's been keeping from the party, regarding her personal history. And so, genuinely being a pretty religious person who's not supposed to, lie, and now that these people are becoming true friends, she's starting to feel a lot more guilt around that, and that actually keeps her tossing and turning, along with the general sense of hopelessness in the general situation they've gotten themselves into.
Okay. Who's next?
William will absolutely 100% not be getting any rest. At absolute best, he will be able to medicate himself to the point where he is just sitting there staring at the ceiling with the lights on, definitely, not even sitting in the dark, not even going to try, just in an effort to try and get himself to the point where he can shut his brain off. But as with, alcohol, anesthesia, etc., you don't actually get any rest, even if you go to the full state of unconsciousness from that. So that's where he'll be. And again, he'll wake up tomorrow. He's just going to be still frightened, still brain fried from this.
Okay.
Alex, I think, is at times overcome by their anger and their hopelessness such that they can't really put a lot of thought behind things. They are overwhelmed by their emotion. I think the last scene of Alec is of them in their bed with, their, like, I always think about like the illustrations of the Santa Claus story with the person in the white cap and
Yeah.
white gown. So that's Alec's nighttime dress. And so they're in bed, and this evening they have Emerson on the bed with them. And they have tears rolling down their cheeks. Their face is wet from tears and sweat. And from time to time, they try to talk to Emerson and quote from Emerson to Emerson the types of things that they would normally say in these situations to themselves or to their friends, but none of it seems to help. And they pet Emerson's ears, and Emerson probably does their best to be comforting. And at some point, Alec just turns their face into Emerson's neck and sobs. And I think what it is that is preventing that sleep is, as angry and hopeless as they are, it's dread, because they fear that, they thought all along that they could keep their secrets in the past and that their present could be something else altogether. But it seems like the present and the secrets of the past are intertwining, and they dread what that means.
That's tragic. Cyrus and Signy.
I can go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Cyrus will kind of get back into bed after Signet leaves. He'll pick up both drinks, one in each hand, kind of sigh and put them both back down again, as if he was going to drink and decides not to. And he lays there, and he kind of is just really going over the I guess the events of the night, being a little of course doing kind of his normal thing that he was doing before, being very critical on him and his actions and his decisions, and what it means for the group. but the undertone and the thing that really like that kind of behavior is something that he has done many times before and can usually shrug off, to an extent. But the thing that really keeps him awake is just this growing sadness that if he can't break this curse and be there and to continue to be around, that he's going to miss out on this kind of special experience he's having with the group and this potentially special connection and bond he's exchanging with Signy. So he's just kind of more of a sadness in that respect. So that's what keeps him up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Sydney makes it back to her room and she sits on her bed. She doesn't turn a lamp on or anything like that. And for the moment that she was walking back to her room, I think that's the lightest she's felt in since before they left, honestly, Coven Crest. And she probably smiles a little bit to herself, and then she kind of looks up at the moonlight coming through, and then that just like that little gnawing sense of like dread kind of seeps back into her heart, and she knows she needs to help Cyrus. Like, she can't have him die. And I feel like she realizes that since coming here and arriving in New Orleans and just interacting with him in this on this new mission, she's been mourning him like he's already gone. And she realizes that that's not what she should be doing, because she's going to miss out on something. And so she kind of resigns herself to make more of an effort, to put more of an effort in, and not shy away. And just because she's scared of losing something doesn't mean she's going to be too afraid to have it. So I think she gets into bed with her dirty clothes on, and she tries to sleep. But I think what actually keeps her from sleeping is the feeling of the swirling dark water around her, and the feeling of people, ghosts, bodies, like limbs, like grabbing at her and pulling at her, and the constant threat of being dragged underneath the waves. I think that's what keeps her up.
And as all of you have a restless sleep, we cut to the wee hours of the morning, where we see a mirrorless vanity. We see a woman with shoulder-length, semi-curly black hair, reaches across the table and grabs a sponge and removes makeup, or the rouge, from her cheeks, reaches down and picks up a beaded necklace that, for all intents and purposes, looks like a rosary. And as she grabs it by the beads and places the metal pendant in her pocket, we see that the metal pendant at the end is not a crucifix. It is instead a oval shape, a stylized silver mirror, cracked at the center, spider webs sort of edge out along the cracks to the edges of the mirror. She drops it in the black pocket. And we see her reach across to a dummy's head, and she pulls off a headdress, much the same as one that Martha has. She places a nun's habit upon her head, and we see her lacquered fingernails, not befitting of a nun, centered on her head, smooth out the pleats of her dress as she walks out of a nondescript building, and with perfect timing, seamlessly blends in to a small crowd of nuns, headed back to the Abbey of Santa Therese. We see her walk through the Abbey, down the halls, the footsteps echo off the walls, as she heads up several flights of stairs to a room with a circular window and the symbol of the cross. She opens the room, and there is a boy. Tied shirt, black slacks, polished shoes, ready for a day assisting in the Abbey. She pulls out a book, smiles, and sits beside him on his bed. And she says, "You ready for your studies?" He nods. She opens the book and begins. "Repeat after me." And the boy echoes every word she says. "I am the gnasher in the dark, and I tear apart the veil of night. I am the sound before a scream, and she lies, whispering dread before despair. I am the dark beneath the ground, where forgotten things await in silence. I am the space between dreaming, binding the threads of nightmare and reality. I am the shadow on the wall, where secrets hide in plain sight. I am the breath before dawn, the quiet that whispers of the day to come. I am the gaze through the mist, seeing what others cannot. I am the silence after thunder, the calm that speaks louder than the storm. I am the whisper in the void, and I murmur truths best left unspoken. I am the echo of the lost, resounding the cries of those forgotten. I am the chill at the heart's core, freezing the warmth of hope within. I am the watcher in the weave, observing the threads that others dare not follow. And I am the chorus, the many voices of the forgotten, singing of what is, what was, and what will be. From darkness I watch, from silence I rise. Between the cracks of the world I endure. I am the shadow that binds, the whisper that awakens, the dream that lingers. I am the echo that never fades, and I am the chorus that carries the song of the unseen. So it is, and so it shall be." And that is where we end this episode of Mundus Novus.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Hey, there it is. Outstanding. Let's go around,
Jesus.
do our introductions so we can get the hell out of here and do what I can only imagine is going to be an amazing after show. Even Chris is yelling at me in chat. Perfect. Let's start. Man, I don't even know who I was going to say with the most traumatized, and I don't even know who that is this episode. Cool. So we're going to start in the order that people appear on my camera here. So we'll start with G. Who are you? Where can we find you? And what are you up to?
Hello, I'm the friendly neighborhood lightning invoker. You can find me wherever you find unMadeGaming. I am modding during the week, playing in all the Patreon games, including this one, The Rise, the Patreon one-shots, and then non-Patreon stuff like Age of Always, scheduled TBD, and yeah, you'll find me in the Discord all the time.
Not next, but I just realized that, Matt, your shirt says "but first tequila," and that's the most appropriate William shirt I think we've seen on screen. Next up is John. Who are you? Where can we find you on the internet, and what are you up to?
Hey, I'm John. I am Ask Why in the Discord, in the unMadeGaming Discord, which is where you can find me. And yeah, that's what I'm up to. And probably for the rest of the day, where I will be found is probably in the bathroom because my stomach is like going like this right now.
Good.
Thanks, Mike.
Good.
Thanks,
No
Mike.
problem. Next up, Melissa, who are you? Where can we find you? What are you up to?
Hi all, I'm Melissa. You can find me as Draftier around unMadeGaming because I'm a patron of Mike's, and so I guess you can find me wherever Mike is, but not in a creepy way, Mike. Don't worry, not in a creepy way.
Super creepy.
That's fine.
And then also at gameswithstories.com, I just finished a portrait of the Mundus Novus Men of Letters crew. So check that out.
Yeah, hell yeah. Very awesome. It's currently one half of my my desktop background, so
Yeah, it's
check
so
that
cool.
out for sure. Next up, Wintress, who are you? Where can we find you? What are you up to?
So yes, I'm Wintress. And you can find me in Discord as Wintress Rita. When I'm not doing this, I do the D&D games sometimes we have on Friday nights. I do a lot of board games, hang out with my dogs and my kids, and I have a couple friends. I don't
And
know.
right.
I never know what to say for these
And
things.
sometimes
Yep,
Sean
that's
too,
me.
right? Don't forget Sean.
Oh yeah, and my
Occasionally.
husband. Occasionally.
All right. And last but not least, Matt, who are you? Where can we find you? And what are you up to?
Let's see. You can find me in the Discord as Vaughn. Like Wintress, I am also in the occasional Friday Crystal Legacy game that is offline. Though I still would love to see more about that universe in a live game somewhere. It'd be really cool. What am I doing these days? Well, there's a new WoW expansion, so that's going to probably end up taking up all my time. So far, it's been fun.
Hell yeah. John's too, apparently. That being said, that is it from all of us. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel and support me making more of these spooky, weird stories and cinematic universes and tying multiple games across decades and decades together, please support us over on Patreon. You can join us for free over there. You get access to a bunch of the written notations of some offline games, some home games, and that's where the recaps of Season 1 and Season 2 of Mundus Novus will go on the free tier for everyone free and up. And if you join us at the $5 tier, you get access to the after show for this show and for the shows for the last 4 years of games. So definitely go check that out. And while you're down there, I encourage you, join us on the Patreon, join us on the Discord, and be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation. But that's it from us. We're going to go discuss this show in the after show. We'll see you guys next time. So from all of us to you, bye-bye.
See you later.